Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with me today. My name is Lily, and I'm so grateful you decided to take some time to watch this video and listen to my story. Before I begin, if you're enjoying what you hear, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to this channel because I share stories like this every single week. Your support means everything to me. Now, let me take you on a journey that changed my entire life. This is not just another motivational talk. Your support means everything to me. Now, let me take you on a journey that changed my entire life. This is not just another motivational talk. I want to ask you the same question someone once asked me, and it completely shattered my comfortable world. The question was simple: are you really living, or are you just existing? When I heard that question for the first time, I felt like someone had thrown cold water on my face in the middle of winter. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't dreaming, I was just going through the motions, day after day, year after year. Let me tell you who I was before my transformation began. I was someone who wanted everything but did nothing about it. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to build my own business. I wanted to speak English fluently. I wanted money, freedom, respect, love, and a life that felt worth living. But if you asked me what I was doing to achieve all of that, my answer was silence, pure silence. I would wake up every morning and check my phone. That was my first action. Before I even drank water, before I looked in the mirror, I was scrolling through Instagram, watching other people's highlight reels, comparing their success to my stillness. I would spend hours watching YouTube videos about how to be successful, how to build a business, how to learn English better. I had hundreds of notes on my phone, hundreds of ideas, countless plans that I never executed. I would tell myself, tomorrow I'll start. Tomorrow I'll be different. Tomorrow I'll make a move. But tomorrow never came. It's funny, isn't it? How we can lie to ourselves so convincingly that we actually believe the lies. I was 22 years old when I hit rock bottom. Not in the dramatic sense where everything fell apart at once. It was slower than that, more painful. It was the kind of hitting bottom that nobody sees. I would go to bed at 2 in the morning, still scrolling, still watching videos, still doing nothing. I would wake up tired because I had wasted 6 hours of my life on content that didn't matter. My family was supportive, but I could see the disappointment in their eyes. My friends were moving forward, they were getting jobs, starting businesses, learning new skills. And there I was, stuck in the same place I was 2 years before, 3 years before, 5 years before. The worst part? I knew exactly what I needed to do. I knew I needed to stop wasting time. I knew I needed to work harder. I knew I needed to take action. But knowing and doing are two completely different things. And I was excellent at knowing while being terrible at doing. I remember the night when everything changed. I was lying in bed, and for the first time in my life, I felt real fear. Not fear of failure, fear of regret. I started thinking about my future. I imagined myself at 50 years old, looking back at my life and realizing that I had wasted decades on nothing. I imagined myself telling my children about my dreams and then having to admit that I never chased them. I imagined being the person at the family reunion that everyone felt sorry for because I never became what I could have been. And that night, something inside me broke. I imagined being the person at the family reunion that everyone felt sorry for because I never became what I could have been. And that night, something inside me broke. The very first thing I learned was what I now call Lesson 1. Time is your life. And let me be crystal clear about this. You are not killing time. Time is killing you. Every single second that passes, you're getting older. Your energy is diminishing. Your opportunities are closing. The dreams you had when you were 17 are becoming harder to achieve at 30. And if you keep wasting time like I did, one day you'll wake up and realize it's too late. I started tracking my time obsessively. I bought a notebook, and every single day I would write down exactly how much time I spent on social media, on useless activities, on things that didn't move my life forward. The numbers shocked me. On average, I was wasting about 5 to 6 hours every single day. 5 to 6 hours! Do you understand what that means? That's 30 to 36 hours a week. That's a full-time job I was giving away to nothing. 4 months of 8-hour workdays in 1 year? Just gone. I was horrified. But horror was the catalyst I needed. So I made a decision, a real decision, not the kind where you say it and forget it, but the kind where you write it down, tell people about it, and commit to it with every fiber of your being. I decided that from that day forward, I would value my hours like they were made of gold, because they are. Every hour you spend is an hour you'll never get back. I cut my social media time from 6 hours to 1 hour per day. 1 hour. That was my limit. And instead of those 5 hours, I started reading. I started learning English. I started working on a blog about personal development. I started exercising. I started doing things that actually moved my life forward. But here's what nobody tells you about saving time. It's not just about cutting out the bad stuff. It's about being intentional with what you do with the time you save. The first month was hard. I felt like I was missing out. My friends would send me Instagram stories, and I wouldn't see them for hours. They would talk about trending videos, and I wouldn't know what they were talking about. But something amazing happened. With 5 extra hours per day, I could read 1 entire book per week. I could practice speaking English with real people. I could work on my blog and actually make it good. I could sleep better because I wasn't scrolling until 2 in the morning anymore. After 6 months of this discipline, I looked back at what I had accomplished, and I couldn't believe it. I had read 50 books. I had written 300 blog posts. My English had improved dramatically. I had created a small community of people who were reading my content and being inspired by it. And all of this came from simply respecting my time and using it intentionally. That's when I realized that time isn't just money. Time is life itself. And once it's gone forever. You can make more money. You cannot make more time. So from that moment on, I became obsessed with how I spent my hours. Now, let me tell you about the second major shift in my journey, which I call Lesson 2, Stop Blaming, Start Building. You see, before I changed, I was a professional blamer. I was excellent at finding reasons why I couldn't succeed. I didn't have the right education. My family didn't understand my dreams. I didn't come from money. I didn't have the right connections. I wasn't born in the right country. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have resources. I could list 50 reasons why my life was not my fault, and I believed every single one of them with all my heart. But here's the harsh truth that nobody wanted to tell me, and I'm telling it to you now. My life was not my responsibility means I was the only one who could change it. Not my parents, not my teachers, not the government, not luck, not destiny. Me, only me. And the sooner I accepted that, the sooner I could actually do something about it. I spent years waiting for someone to give me a break. I was waiting for a miracle. I was waiting for someone to discover me and make my dreams come true. And while I was waiting, years were passing. I remember reading about Oprah Winfrey. Here was a woman who was born in poverty, abused as a child, with every reason to give up. But she didn't blame her circumstances. She built her way out of them. She decided that no matter what she didn't have, she would create something from nothing. That's when I understood that my circumstances were not my destiny. My choices were. And I had been making the wrong choices for years. I had chosen to blame. I had chosen to wait. I had chosen to make excuses. But from that day on, I chose differently. I wrote down all my problems on a piece of paper, every single thing I thought was holding me back. And then, next to each problem, I wrote down a solution. I didn't have a mentor? I would find one online. I would read books. I would study the lives of people I admired. I didn't have money to invest in my education? I would use free resources, YouTube, podcasts, library books, free courses. I didn't have the right connections? I would build them. I would join communities. I would attend events. I would reach out to people. I didn't have formal education in what I wanted to do. I would teach myself. I would learn while doing. The moment I stopped blaming and started building was the moment my life actually changed, because I realized that I was never weak. I was never unlucky. I was just not using my power. I had the power to learn. I had the power to work. The moment I stopped blaming and started building was the moment my life actually changed, because I realized that I was never weak. I was never unlucky. I was just not using my power. I had the power to learn. I had the power to work. From that day forward, whenever I wanted to complain about something, I would stop myself and say, okay, what can I do about this? That question changed everything. Lesson 3 was one of the hardest ones for me to learn, and it's called, Your Comfort Zone is a Trap. Escape it. I want to be honest with you. I was comfortable in my discomfort. Does that make sense? I was unhappy, but I was used to being unhappy. I knew what my life looked like. I knew my routine. I knew my failures. And as much as I hated it, there was something safe about it. The unknown terrified me. The possibility of failure in new territory paralyzed me. My life before the change was predictable. I would wake up, check my phone, eat breakfast, watch videos, scroll Instagram, maybe study a little bit for something, and go to bed. It was boring. It was unfulfilling, but it was safe. Nobody could laugh at me for trying and failing because I wasn't trying. Nobody could reject me because I wasn't putting myself out there. It was unfulfilling, but it was safe. Nobody could laugh at me for trying and failing because I wasn't trying. Nobody could reject me because I wasn't putting myself out there. The moment I decided to break out of my comfort zone, the moment I decided to do something I had never done before, I felt like I was going to die. I know that sounds dramatic, but it's true. My first scary step was speaking English in front of people. Now, you need to understand, I had learned English from books and videos. I could write in English, I could understand English, but speaking it out loud, in front of other people, that was terrifying. I was convinced that I would sound stupid. I would make mistakes, people would laugh at me, people would judge me. But I had a realization. I said to myself, Lily, the pain of staying the same is going to be much worse than the pain of trying and failing. So one day, I signed up for a conversation class, just a small class of 5 people and a teacher. I walked in there with my heart pounding so hard, I thought it might come out of my chest. I sat down, and when the teacher asked me to speak, I opened my mouth, and the most broken English came out. I mixed words, I forgot vocabulary. I spoke too slowly. But I spoke, and you know what happened? The world didn't end. The people didn't laugh. The teacher smiled and encouraged me. And I survived. That one small step of discomfort led to the next one. A few weeks later, I started a blog where I wrote in English. People read it, and they left comments. Some comments were corrections. Some were encouragement. But they were real. I was creating real things that real people could see. Then I started a YouTube channel. I was terrified, but I did it anyway. I made videos where I shared my thoughts about personal growth and learning English. The first video got 10 views, and 5 of those were probably me. But I didn't stop. I kept going. I kept being uncomfortable. Here's the truth about discomfort. It only lasts as long as you're new at something. After about 3 weeks of consistent action, the thing that terrified you becomes normal. After 2 months, it becomes easy. After 6 months, you wonder why you were ever scared in the first place. I've now given talks to hundreds of people. I speak English fluently without thinking about it. I create content regularly. And none of this would have been possible if I had stayed in my comfort zone. The life you want is on the other side of discomfort, not the comfortable life you're imagining. The real, powerful, fulfilling life. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable to get there. Now let me talk about something that destroyed years of my life. Something that I'm still vigilant about today. I call it Lesson 4. I'll do it later is the biggest lie you're telling yourself. And listen to me carefully, because this one is dangerous. This is the lie that killed my dreams for years. I'll do it later. Those 4 words are poison. They taste sweet when you say them. They feel safe. They feel like a promise you're making to yourself that you'll eventually do the thing. But here's the brutal truth. Later almost never comes. For 7 years, I told myself I would start a business later. I told myself I would write a book later. I told myself I would travel later. I told myself I would learn Spanish later. I told myself I would fix my health later. And do you know where those dreams are now? Still in my head. Never executed. Never lived. Because later never came. Something always came up. Something always got in the way. Or, more honestly, I just didn't feel like doing it, so I pushed it to later. I want you to understand something very important. I'll do it later doesn't mean I will do it later. It actually means I don't want to do it, and I'm hoping that if I wait long enough, I won't have to. It's a lie we tell ourselves so we don't feel bad about not doing it right now. But every time we say that lie, we reinforce it. We train our brain to believe it. And eventually, we become the kind of person who talks about doing things but never does them. Let me tell you about the person who changed my perspective on this. Her name was Sarah. She was in my conversation class. She wanted to start a YouTube channel. She wanted to share her journey with learning English. And she kept saying, "I'll start next month when things calm down." I watched her say this for 3 months. 3 months. And every time something would come up or she just wouldn't feel ready. Then one day she came to class and said, "I started my channel yesterday. I posted my first video. It was terrible, but I did it. You know what happened? People subscribed. People left encouraging comments. She got momentum. And now, 6 months later, she has thousands of subscribers. That's when I realized that later had stolen years from me, but it didn't have to steal any more. I made a commitment that day. If there was something I wanted to do, something I believed in, I would do it now. Not perfect, not prepared, just now. I set a timer for 10 minutes, and I would start whatever the thing was. Just 10 minutes. And you know what? Once I started, I almost always kept going. The hardest part is always beginning. But once you've begun, momentum takes over. So if you're watching this right now and you've been saying later about something, I want you to understand something. Later doesn't exist. It's a phantom. It's a dream that will never come true if you don't make it come true right now. What are you putting off? What are you saying later about? Because I promise you, the right time to start is now. The perfect moment doesn't exist. Life is always messy. You're always going to have reasons not to start. But if you can take just one action right now, just one small step, that could change the entire trajectory of your life. So stop waiting for later. Start now. Lesson 5 is something I had to learn through painful experience, and I want to save you from that pain. It's called Stop Thinking, Start Doing. Now, I want to be clear. Thinking is important. Planning is valuable. Strategy matters. But there's a point where thinking becomes an excuse for not doing, and that's where I lived for years. I was a professional thinker. I was a world-class planner. I had notebooks filled with plans. I had documents on my computer with strategies. I had spreadsheets with timelines and projections, but I wasn't doing anything. I would spend weeks thinking about how to write the perfect blog post. I would research the best format, the best length, the best topics. I would make outlines, but I never wrote the post. I would spend months thinking about starting a YouTube channel. I would research the best camera, the best lighting, the best editing software, but I never filmed a single video. My mind was so busy planning the perfect future that I wasn't actually building anything in the present. And I wasn't alone. I know so many people like this. They're called perpetual students. They're always learning, always preparing, always thinking, but never actually doing. One day, I had a conversation with my grandmother. She was a woman who had limited formal education, but had lived an incredibly full life. She had traveled, she had built a business, she had raised children, she had created beautiful things. I asked her, "How did you do all these things without a detailed plan?" And she said something that changed me forever. She said, "Baby, you don't learn to swim by reading about swimming. You learn by jumping in the water." That was it. That was the shift I needed. From that day forward, I made a rule for myself. I could think for 10 minutes, and then I had to act for the next 10 hours. 10 minutes to plan, then do. Not perfectly, not with all the answers, just do. So when I decided to start my blog, I spent 10 minutes deciding on the name and the basic structure. Then I published it. It was rough, it wasn't perfect, but it was alive. When I decided to make my first YouTube video, I spent 10 minutes setting up my camera and writing some bullet points. Then I filmed it. The lighting was not ideal. The audio was not perfect, but I created something real that day. Here's what happened when I stopped overthinking and started doing. I started getting feedback, real feedback. Not the feedback from my imagination, which was usually negative and critical. Real feedback from real people. Some people told me what I could improve. Some people told me they loved what I was doing. Some people gave me ideas. And all of that feedback was 1,000 times more valuable than any amount of thinking I could have done alone. Because thinking happens in isolation. Doing happens in the real world, and the real world is the only place where real growth happens. I learned that perfection is the enemy of excellence. You can sit and wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, and it will never come. Or you can start imperfectly right now and improve as you go. Every single successful person I've studied, every single entrepreneur, every single artist, they all started before they were ready. They did the thing before they had all the knowledge, and that's how they became great. Not by thinking about it, but by doing it and learning along the way. Lesson 6 is about something deeper than just habits. It's about becoming a different kind of person. It's called Be That Guy. Not the lazy one, not the one who complains and makes excuses. Be the one who does what others won't. Let me explain what this means. In every group, in every family, in every community, there's always one person who becomes something more. One person who rises up. One person who changes everything. And I decided that I was going to be that person in my circle. I changed everything about myself, not just my habits, but my identity. I stopped seeing myself as someone who wanted to do things someday. I started seeing myself as someone who was doing things now. That sounds like a small shift, but it's massive because your identity drives your actions. If you see yourself as lazy, you'll make lazy choices. If you see yourself as disciplined, you'll make disciplined choices. If you see yourself as someone who speaks English well, you'll speak English. If you see yourself as someone who can't do it, you won't even try. So I made a list of what that guy looked like, the person I wanted to become. She wakes up early without needing an alarm. She exercises regularly. She reads every day. So I made a list of what that guy looked like, the person I wanted to become. She wakes up early without needing an alarm. She exercises regularly. She reads every day. She doesn't complain about things she doesn't control. She focuses on what she can do. She inspires people without saying a word. She's the person people talk about years later because she changed something about their life. And then I started living like that person before I was completely that person. I started waking up early, even when I didn't feel like it. I started exercising, even when my body protested. I started reading, even when I was tired. I started speaking English, even when I was scared. I started building, even when I was uncertain. And here's the incredible thing. The more you act like the person you want to become, the more you actually become that person. It's not magic. It's psychology. It's how our brains work. When your actions are consistent with an identity, you eventually internalize that identity. Not everyone believed in me. My friends thought I had changed. My family thought I was being weird. Some people actually criticized me for trying to be something I wasn't. But I didn't need their belief. I believed in myself. And that belief was enough. I walked into rooms like I belonged there. I spoke like someone who had something worth saying. I dressed like someone who respected herself. I carried myself like someone who was building something important. And you know what happened? The world started responding to that. Opportunities started showing up. People started taking me seriously. People started asking me for advice. Here's what I learned. The world doesn't care about your potential. It only cares about your presence. Be that person who shows up every single day. Be that person who does the work when nobody is watching. Be that person who speaks up even though it's scary. Be that person who keeps going when everyone else quits. And one day, you won't have to pretend anymore. You won't have to try to be that person. You'll just be that person, because identity, once developed, becomes automatic. You won't have to think about being disciplined. You'll just be disciplined. You won't have to convince yourself to take action. You'll just take action. That's the power of deciding who you're going to become. Now I want to talk about something that's probably the most important lesson I've learned, and it's called you versus you. Because your biggest enemy is not outside of you. It's not your circumstances. It's not other people. It's not the economy. It's not your bad luck. Your biggest enemy is you. More specifically, it's the version of you that wants to stay comfortable, safe, and stuck. It's the voice that tells you to quit. It's the part of you that says, I'm tired. It's the version of you that thinks it's okay to be average. There are two versions of me living inside my mind, and every single day I have to choose which one is going to win. There's the lazy me, the version that wants to sleep until noon, the version that wants to scroll Instagram for hours, the version that wants to eat junk food and watch mindless videos. That version of me is seductive. She makes everything sound so nice, so easy, so comfortable. And then there's the ambitious me, the version that wants to wake up early, the version that wants to read and learn, the version that wants to exercise and create, the version that's willing to be uncomfortable to build something great. For most of my life, I was feeding the lazy version. Every time I chose to sleep in instead of working on my goals, I was feeding her. Every time I chose social media over reading, I was feeding her. Every time I chose comfort over growth, I was feeding her. And the stronger she got, the weaker my dreams became. The harder it was to do the things I said I wanted to do. It felt like I was fighting against myself because I was, and I was losing. But then I learned something crucial. You know which wolf wins? The one you feed. That's a Native American saying, and it's absolutely true. So I started intentionally feeding the ambitious version of me. Every single day, I made choices that fed her. I woke up early. That fed her. I exercised. That fed her. I read. That fed her. I worked on my goals even when I didn't feel like it. That fed her. And with every choice, she got stronger. And with every choice, the lazy version got weaker. But here's the important part. The lazy version never completely disappeared. She still shows up. Every morning, she's there trying to convince me to stay in bed. But she's not in charge anymore because I've been feeding the other version for so long that she's now the stronger one. This is a war that you have to understand you're fighting. And it's not a war you fight once and then you're done. It's a war you fight every single day for the rest of your life. Some days, it's going to be easy. You're going to wake up, motivated, and doing the right thing will feel natural. But other days, it's going to be hard. You're going to wake up tired. You're going to not feel like it. The weather might be bad. You might be sick. You might be depressed. And on those days, you have to make a choice. Are you going to choose the version of you that wants to grow? Or are you going to choose the version of you that wants comfort? I started tracking this. I made a chart on my wall, and every single day I would mark down my choices. Did I choose growth today, or did I choose comfort? And I made a game of it. I tried to get as many days in a row as possible where I chose growth. At first, it was hard. I could only get 3 or 4 days in a row, then a week, then 2 weeks. And now I'm proud to say that I go weeks and weeks with consistently choosing the version of me that wants to become better. And the incredible thing is, that version is becoming my default. She's becoming who I am. And the lazy version? She's becoming quieter and quieter. She still shows up, but she doesn't have much power anymore. Lesson 8 took me a long time to understand, and it's called Work on Your Willpower. And here's what I mean by that. If you don't train your willpower, your feelings will control your life. And let me tell you something. Feelings are liars. They lie to you every single day. You don't feel like waking up early? A lie. You do feel like being successful, and successful people wake up early. You don't feel like exercising? A lie. You do feel like being healthy and strong. You don't feel like working on your goals? A lie. You do feel like changing your life, but your feelings are too weak to fight with the immediate discomfort. For years, I let my feelings control me. If I didn't feel like doing something, I didn't do it. Simple as that. I didn't feel like waking up early, so I slept in. I didn't feel like studying, so I didn't study. I didn't feel like going to the gym, so I didn't go. And the result was a life where nothing changed because everything was dependent on how I felt on any given day. And let me tell you, I was rarely motivated. I was rarely excited. I was usually tired. I was usually making excuses. I was usually finding reasons why I shouldn't do the thing. But then I had a revelation. What if willpower is not something you're born with? What if it's something you can build? What if it's like a muscle? When you use your muscle, it gets stronger. When you don't use it, it gets weaker. So I decided to start training my willpower muscle. I started small. I decided that I would not use my phone after 10 in the evening. That's it. That's the only rule. It sounds simple, but it was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. The first few nights, I failed. I opened my phone, I scrolled, but I kept trying. I put my phone in another room. I set a timer to remind myself. I wrote my commitment on a sticky note and put it on my mirror. And night after night, I kept trying. After 2 weeks, something shifted. It got easier. After a month, I didn't even think about it anymore. I just naturally didn't use my phone after 10. And the incredible thing that happened was that this small success made me feel powerful. I had proven to myself that I could do something even when I didn't feel like doing it. And that feeling of power made me want to push further. So I added another challenge. I would wake up early, no matter how I felt. Even if I was tired, even if my bed was comfortable, I would wake up at 6. And again, it was hard, but I stuck with it. And after a few weeks, it became easier. Here's what I learned through this process. Willpower is absolutely trainable. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets. And something magical happens when your willpower gets strong. You stop being controlled by your moods. You stop canceling plans because you don't feel like going. You stop eating junk food just because you're craving it. You stop wasting time just because you're bored. You become the master of your choices instead of a slave to your feelings. And that's when your life really changes. Let me ask you, do you want to build a strong life, or do you want to follow your feelings like a little child? Because you can't do both. You can't be disciplined and also do whatever you feel like doing. You can't be successful and also give up every time something gets hard. You have to make a choice. And if you want the strong life, then you have to train your willpower. Start small. Choose one thing that you don't want to do and do it anyway. It could be waking up early, it could be exercising, it could be studying, it could be anything, but pick something and every single day, do it, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Lesson 9 is something I see destroying people every single day, and it's called Comparison is Killing You. Let me be very clear. If you keep comparing yourself to others, you will never be happy. Never. I spent years doing this, and it was like drinking poison every single day and expecting not to get sick. I would get on Instagram and I would see someone with a better body, a better car, a better house, a better life. I would see someone speaking fluent English. I would see someone with thousands of YouTube subscribers, and immediately I would start hating myself. I would think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be like them? Why is their life so perfect and mine's such a mess? And I would spiral. I would spend the next 3 hours comparing myself to more and more people. I would look at their bodies and hate mine. I would look at their accomplishments and doubt mine. I would look at their relationships and feel lonely. I would look at their success and feel like a failure. And the worst part? I was comparing my reality to their highlight reel. I was seeing 15 seconds of their perfect life and comparing it to my entire 24 hours of messy, real life. You don't see their breakdowns. You don't see their pain. You don't see the nights they cried. You don't see the failures. You don't see the struggles. You don't see the people who rejected them. You don't see the business ideas that failed. You don't see any of that. You only see the one moment they decided to share publicly, the moment when everything looked perfect. And you compare your entire reality to that one perfect moment. It's insane when you think about it, but we all do it. For me, the breaking point came when I realized I was spending so much time looking at other people's lives that I wasn't building my own. I was so focused on what they had that I wasn't creating what I wanted, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was trading my future for their present. I was sacrificing my potential to envy their accomplishments. I was literally killing my own dreams by being obsessed with their success. And that night, I made a decision. I would stop following anyone who made me feel like I wasn't enough. I would stop watching videos that made me feel bad about myself. I would stop reading posts that triggered my comparison. But I didn't just unfollow. I also changed my relationship with social media completely. Instead of comparing, I started studying. Instead of envying, I started learning. When I saw someone who had achieved something I wanted to achieve, instead of hating them, I would think, that's possible. If they did it, I can do it too. What did they do? How can I learn from them? Do you see the difference? Comparison comes from a place of scarcity. Study comes from a place of growth. One destroys you, the other builds you. And here's something really important that I learned. You're not on the same journey as anyone else. You have your own path. You have your own timeline. You have your own struggles. You have your own destiny. If a sunflower and a rose start comparing how tall they are and what color they are, they'll both forget how beautiful they are. You're a sunflower in a field of roses. You're not meant to be like them. You're meant to be the best version of yourself. And that can only happen when you stop looking left and right and start looking straight ahead at your own journey. Lesson 10 is something that saved me years of wasted time, and it's called, Don't Take Advice from Those Who Haven't Done It. Not everyone who talks is qualified to speak. Not everyone who has opinions knows what they're talking about. Lesson 10 is something that saved me years of wasted time, and it's called, Don't Take Advice from Those Who Haven't Done It. Not everyone who talks is qualified to speak. Not everyone who has opinions knows what they're talking about. Lesson 10 is something that saved me years of wasted time, and it's called, Don't Take Advice from Those Who Haven't Done It. Not everyone who talks is qualified to speak. Not everyone who has opinions knows what they're talking about. My friend used to tell me, You're never going to speak English fluently. You don't have the talent for languages. But my friend doesn't speak English fluently either. In fact, she barely tries. So why would I listen to her about my potential? My mother used to worry that my dreams were too big. But my mother has never chased big dreams herself. So how could she possibly understand what it takes? I was listening to broken people tell me why I would break. I was listening to stuck people tell me why I would get stuck. I was listening to people who had given up on their dreams tell me why I should give up on mine. And because I was young and uncertain, I believed them. I doubted myself. I made their limitations my limitations. I made their fears my fears. But one day, I realized that I was taking directions from people who had never driven the car. And because I was young and uncertain, I believed them. I doubted myself. I made their limitations my limitations. I made their fears my fears. But one day, I realized that I was taking directions from people who had never driven the car. So I made a rule for myself. I would only take advice from people who had achieved what I wanted to achieve. If I wanted to learn English, I would listen to people who spoke English fluently. If I wanted to build a business, I would listen to successful entrepreneurs. If I wanted to be healthy, I would listen to people who were fit and healthy. If I wanted to be happy, I would listen to people who were happy. This simple rule changed everything. Because when you listen to the right people, the people who have actually done what you want to do, their advice is golden. I started reading biographies of successful people. I started listening to podcasts by entrepreneurs. I started following accounts of people who had achieved their goals. And I was amazed at how different their advice was from the advice I'd been getting. They didn't tell me it was impossible. They told me it was hard, but possible. They didn't tell me to give up. They told me to persist. And I was amazed at how different their advice was from the advice I'd been getting. They didn't tell me it was impossible. They told me it was hard, but possible. They didn't tell me to give up. They told me to persist. But here's the important part. Just because someone has achieved something doesn't mean their advice will work for you. You still need to use discernment. You still need to think critically. But at least you're listening to someone who has actually done the thing. At least you're getting advice from someone who has walked the path. And that makes all the difference. So if someone is giving you advice, ask yourself, has this person achieved what I want to achieve? If yes, listen carefully. If no, thank them politely and move on. So if someone is giving you advice, ask yourself, has this person achieved what I want to achieve? If yes, listen carefully. If no, thank them politely and move on. Lesson 11 is about something that the world will never tell you, and it's called Pick Yourself. The world will not pick you. The world will not clap for you until it's too late. The world will not believe in you until you've already made it. The world will not support you when you need it the most. So here's the question. What should you do? Pick yourself. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for someone to say you're good enough. Stop waiting for a phone call, a message, a chance, a stage, a partner, a lucky break. I spent years waiting to be discovered. I thought someone would see my potential and offer me an opportunity. I thought a mentor would appear and take me under their wing. I thought a publisher would reach out and ask me to write a book. I thought a company would call and offer me a job. I was waiting for someone else to recognize my worth. And while I was waiting, years were passing, and I was getting older. And more opportunities were closing, and my dreams were fading. But then I realized something crucial. I don't need someone else to pick me. I can pick myself. The most successful people in the world, they didn't wait to be chosen. They chose themselves. J.K. Rowling got rejected 12 times before Harry Potter was published. What if she had waited for someone to believe in her? She would still be waiting. Steve Jobs didn't wait for someone to give him a computer company. He started Apple in his garage. Oprah didn't wait for a network to offer her a talk show. She created her own opportunities. All of these people have one thing in common. They picked themselves when nobody else did. So, I made a decision. I would stop waiting for permission. I would stop waiting for the perfect opportunity. I would stop waiting for someone to tell me I was good enough. I would just start. I started a YouTube channel without waiting for YouTube to invite me. I started a blog without waiting for a publisher to ask me to write. I created content without waiting for someone to give me a stage. And you know what happened? Some people didn't like my content. Some people criticized me. Some people said I was wasting my time. But some people loved it. Some people were inspired by it. Some people shared it. And slowly, my audience grew. The key is that I didn't wait for perfect conditions. I didn't wait until I had the best camera, the best microphone, the best setup. I didn't wait until I had thousands of followers. I didn't wait until someone validated me. I just started with what I had, and I improved as I went. And now, years later, I have an audience. I have people who believe in me. I have opportunities. But none of that would have happened if I had waited for someone else to pick me. I had to pick myself first. Here's what you need to understand. The world can't ignore someone who believes in themselves so hard that it becomes impossible not to notice. When you stop asking for permission and start taking action, when you stop waiting for validation and start creating anyway, something shifts. You become magnetic. People are drawn to people who are building something, who are creating something, who are doing something. So pick yourself, write your name on the opportunity, start that channel, start that business, start that project. Apply for that job, post that video, create that thing, and keep creating even when nobody is watching yet, because the world is watching for people like you. Lesson 12 is about something that separates the people who achieve their dreams from the people who don't. And it's called No Risk, No Story. You want a life worth living? You want a story worth telling? Then you need to understand this truth. You don't get greatness without risk. No successful person ever became successful by playing it safe. No powerful person became powerful by staying in their comfort zone. Every single person I admire, every champion, every billionaire, every inspiration, they all had to risk something. Some risked their money, some risked their time, some risked their comfort, some risked their safety, some risked their peace of mind. And many times, they risked their heart. They risked being rejected. They risked being laughed at. They risked failing in front of everyone. But they did it anyway, because they understood something that I finally understand. Without risk, there is no reward. Without courage, there is no growth. When I decided to start speaking English in front of people, I was risking being embarrassed. I was risking sounding stupid. I was risking people laughing at me. When I decided to start a YouTube channel, I was risking people criticizing my appearance, my voice, my ideas. When I decided to share my story publicly, I was risking people judging me for my past mistakes. When I decided to pursue my dreams instead of the safe, stable job, I was risking financial security. I was risking disappointing my family. I was risking failure. But here's the thing. Not taking those risks was a guaranteed failure. Staying silent was a guaranteed failure. Staying safe was a guaranteed failure because my dreams were dying inside me. My potential was rotting. My life was becoming smaller and smaller every single day. So the risk of trying was actually smaller than the risk of not trying. The risk of failure was smaller than the risk of regret. And I finally understood that. Let me ask you, What's the worst that could happen if you take a risk? Your worst case scenario probably isn't that bad. You might fail. You might be embarrassed. You might lose some money. You might be alone for a while. You might have to start over. Let me ask you, what's the worst that could happen if you take a risk? Your worst case scenario probably isn't that bad. You might fail. You might be embarrassed. You might lose some money. You might be alone for a while. You might have to start over. But here's what I know from my own experience. You won't fail as badly as you think you will. And more importantly, the people who reject you, the people who laugh at you, they're not the people whose opinions matter anyway. The people whose opinions matter are the people who believe in growth, the people who admire courage, the people who respect people who try. And those people, they're watching for people like you. They're waiting for people who are brave enough to risk something. So take the risk. Post the video. Apply for the job. Start the business. Send the message. Ask for what you want. Risk being rejected. Risk being embarrassed. Risk failing. Because without risk, your life will be quiet, silent, predictable, safe, and empty. And at the end of your life, nobody will remember that you played it safe. They'll remember what you dared to do. Lesson 13 is one that I need you to really hear, and it's called The Clock is Ticking, and it doesn't care if you're not ready. Let me say it loud and clear. Time isn't waiting for you. The clock isn't slowing down because you're tired. It's not stopping because you're confused. It's not pausing because you're scared. Time is running, and it's running fast. Every single second that slips from your hand is a second you'll never get back. It's not stopping because you're confused. It's not pausing because you're scared. Time is running, and it's running fast. Every single second that slips from your hand is a second you'll never get back. It's not stopping because you're confused. It's not pausing because you're scared. Time is running, and it's running fast. Every single second that slips from your hand is a second you'll never get back. I didn't understand that every day that passed was a day I would never get back. Every week I waited was a week gone forever. Every month I procrastinated was a month deleted from my life. I thought I was young and had all the time in the world, but I didn't. Nobody does. And the faster you understand this, the faster your life changes. You're not too young. You're not too old. You're not too busy. You're just making excuses. And I say that with love. I was making those same excuses. I know exactly how the mind works when it comes to justifying why now is not the right time. But here's the truth. There is no right time. There is only now. And right now, while you're watching this, that's the only time you have. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. Now, this moment. This is your life happening, not in the future. Now, let me ask you, when are you finally going to stop watching others win and start creating your own life? Are you going to let your dreams die inside your mind in silence? Are you going to reach the end of your life with a heart full of regrets about the things you never tried? Or are you going to stand up, face the mirror, and say, no more wasting time. I'm going to become the person I was born to be, starting now. Do you know what's scarier than failure? Regret. Failure is a temporary pain, but regret stays with you for the rest of your life. It's a sharp knife in your chest that never goes away. Do you know what's scarier than failure? Regret. Failure is a temporary pain, but regret stays with you for the rest of your life. It's a sharp knife in your chest that never goes away. You realize that if you had just started 10 years ago, you would be there by now. But you didn't start, and now it's too late. Don't be that person. Don't wake up at 60 wishing you had started at 20. Start now. Lesson 14 might hit you hard, but you need to hear it, and it's called Nobody Cares, and that's your greatest power. Listen, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Nobody cares about your problems. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody feels your pain the way you do. You're waiting for sympathy from the world? Forget it. People are too busy fighting their own battles. They'll listen to you for a few seconds, nod their heads, and move on. That's the reality. When I was struggling, I kept waiting for someone to notice. I kept waiting for someone to come and help me. I kept waiting for the world to acknowledge my pain and my effort. And you know what? Nobody came. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared. I could have let that destroy me. I could have thought, well, if nobody cares, why should I care? But instead, I realized something. If nobody cares, then I'm free. If nobody cares about my failures, then I can fail without shame. If nobody cares about my success, then I can succeed without needing approval. That realization was liberating because I stopped performing for an audience that wasn't even watching. I stopped trying to impress people who didn't care about me. I stopped waiting for validation from people who were too busy with their own lives. And that's when I became powerful. That's when I started actually creating. That's when I started actually growing, because I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for me. Here's the truth. People are too consumed with their own lives to really care about yours. They're worried about their own problems. They're focused on their own goals. They're fighting their own battles. So when you fail, do you think they're going to remember it? Probably not. When you try something new and it doesn't work, do you think they're going to judge you forever? Probably not. Because if nobody cares about your failures, that means you're free to fail. You're free to try again. You're free to look stupid. You're free to fall and rise again. You don't need approval. You don't need permission. You only need one thing: yourself. You want to cry? Cry. But don't sit there in your pain. Wipe your tears, clench your fists, and rise like a warrior. Use that pain. Convert it into purpose. Take that loneliness and turn it into power. Nobody cares, but you care. And that's what matters. Build your life like nobody's watching, because the truth is, they're not. And that's your greatest freedom. That's your greatest power. Because when you stop caring what people think, when you stop performing for an invisible audience, when you stop seeking approval from people who don't care, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when you do your best work. That's when you become the person you were meant to be. So stop waiting for the world to care. Start caring about yourself and watch what happens. Lesson 15 is something I ask myself every single day, and I want you to ask it too. It's called, why not now? People always say, I'll start from next week. I'll start next month. I'll start next year. I'll start when things calm down. I'll start when I have more money. I'll start when I'm older. I'll start when I'm ready. But let me ask you, what's going to change between now and then? Will you suddenly become more motivated? Will life become easier? Will fear disappear? Will time slow down? The answer is no. I'll start when I have more money. I'll start when I'm older. I'll start when I'm ready. But let me ask you, what's going to change between now and then? Will you suddenly become more motivated? Will life become easier? Will fear disappear? Will time slow down? The answer is no. I was professional at finding excuses. I was skilled at pushing my dreams to tomorrow. And do you know where my dreams are now? They're still in tomorrow. I had to learn this the hard way. Every single day you wait, your dreams fade a little bit more. Every week you procrastinate, your motivation decreases. Every month you delay, your belief in yourself gets weaker. You're slowly killing your own dreams just by waiting. Imagine your goals turning into dust just because you were waiting for the perfect time. The perfect time doesn't exist. It never will. Life is always messy. Your mind will always find a reason to delay. Your circumstances will always be less than perfect, but that's not an excuse to wait. The world doesn't wait. Opportunities don't wait. Time doesn't wait. So why are you? You want to start your fitness journey? Start now. You want to learn English? Start now. You want to change your life? Start now. Not next Monday, not next New Year. Now. Because if you can take one small step right now, just one small step, that could be the beginning of a whole new life. That one step could change everything, but you have to take it now, not later. Now. Give me one solid reason why not now. I'm waiting. You can't think of one, can you? Because there isn't one. The only thing stopping you is you. The only reason you're not starting is because you're afraid, and fear is a liar. Fear tells you that you're not ready. Fear tells you that you should wait. Fear tells you that it might not work out. But fear doesn't know the future. Fear is just your mind trying to keep you safe. And safety is another word for stagnation. So here's what I want you to do. After this video, after we're done talking, I want you to pick one thing that you've been saying later about, one thing you've been putting off, and I want you to do it in the next hour. Not perfectly, not with all the answers. Just start. Make one phone call, write one page, take one step, do one thing, and then do it again tomorrow, and then again the next day. Because the only way dreams become real is through consistent action, and consistent action starts with one step. Now. Lesson 16 is something that saved my life, and it's called, If You Don't Like Your Life, Create a New Version. Look around. Is this the life you wanted? Are you waking up with fire in your chest? Or are you dragging your feet every single day, pretending to be happy while dying inside? Be honest with yourself. You hate your routine. You hate your job. You hate your habits. You hate your energy. But you're still doing the same thing every day and expecting it to change. That's insanity. Here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. You are the creator of your life. You're not a tree. You're not stuck in one place forever. You're not a prisoner with no escape. You can move. You can evolve. You can rebuild. You can completely redesign your life. If the life you're living feels fake, then burn it to the ground and start again. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being real. Your life is a creation, and if you don't like the creation, you can create something new. For me, this meant changing everything. I changed my hair, I changed my habits, I changed my friends, I changed my environment, I changed the way I think, I changed the way I speak, I changed the way I dress, I changed what I do with my time. I changed everything because everything in my old life was pointing me in the wrong direction, and people noticed. My friends said I had changed. My family said I was different. And you know what? They were right. I had changed. I had intentionally, deliberately, courageously changed myself. But here's the thing. You don't need to wait for a breakdown to create a new version of yourself. You don't need to hit rock bottom. You don't need to lose everything. You can decide right now to create a new version. You can say, starting today, I'm going to be different. I'm going to think different. I'm going to act different. You can decide right now to create a new version. You can say, starting today, I'm going to be different. I'm going to think different. I'm going to act different. You can decide right now to create a new version. You can say, starting today, I'm going to be different. I'm going to think different. I'm going to act different. She was curious. She was ambitious. She was humble. She was growing. And every day I would ask myself, what would this new version do today? And then I would do that. I didn't have to become her overnight. I just had to make one choice at a time that was aligned with who I wanted to be. And slowly, through consistent choices, I became that person. So here's my question for you. Who do you want to become? Not who society wants you to be, not who your parents want you to be, not who your friends want you to be, but who do you really want to become? Describe that person. What does she look like? What does she do? How does she think? How does she speak? What are her habits? What does she believe? And then, starting today, start becoming that person through your choices. One choice at a time. One day at a time. Until one day, you look in the mirror and you see her. You see the person you wanted to become. And you realize that she's not someone else. She's you. Lesson 17 is about something that kept me trapped for years, and it's called expectations, the prison of dreams. I want to tell you about how expectations almost cost me my entire future. Expectations are invisible chains. They look like love. They sound like concern. They feel like responsibility. But they're actually chains that keep you imprisoned in someone else's idea of who you should be. I had a friend named Sarah. She was brilliant. She was creative. She was talented. She could have done anything she wanted. But she was stuck in a life she hated because of expectations. Her family expected her to become a doctor. Society expected her to get married by 25. Her parents expected her to live near them. Her culture expected her to follow certain rules. And because of those expectations, she made choices that made her miserable. She became a doctor even though she didn't want to. She married a man her family chose. She moved back home and gave up her dreams. And now she's depressed. Now she's angry. Now she's resentful. And I almost became her. I almost let the expectations of others define my life. My family expected me to get a stable job. Society expected me to get married. My relatives expected me to be like my cousins, who all followed the traditional path. And for a while, I was going to do it. I was going to disappoint myself to make others happy. I was going to shrink myself so that other people could feel comfortable. I was going to live a life that wasn't mine, just so that I wouldn't hurt anyone's feelings. But then I realized something crucial. If I live my life just to make others happy, I'll end up hating myself. I would smile in public and cry in my room. I would pretend to be fine while I was dying inside. I would feel like a prisoner in my own body, pretending to be someone I wasn't, living a life I didn't choose. Is that what you want? Is that the life you want to live? I don't think so. Because deep inside, you know that you're meant for something more. You know that your life is supposed to be yours. You know that you're not born to fulfill someone else's dream. So I made a decision. I told my family that I was pursuing my dreams, even if it wasn't what they expected. I told them that I was sorry if I disappointed them, but that I had to live my own life. And you know what happened? Some of them were upset at first. Some of them tried to convince me to change. Some of them said things that hurt me. But you know what else happened? Some of them started to respect me. Some of them started to see me differently. Some of them started to believe in me, and some of them asked me for advice. Because when you stop living for others and start living for yourself, When you stop trying to be what they expect and start being who you are, people respect that. People admire that. People want to be around that. Here's the truth. Their expectations are not your destiny. You are not born to fulfill their dreams. You are born to chase your dreams. And sometimes that means disappointing others. Sometimes that means being alone. Sometimes that means standing up and saying, "No, I'm not going to do this. This is my life." And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's necessary, because your life is the only life you get. And if you spend it trying to make others happy, you'll never know what you could have become. You'll never know what you were really capable of. You'll never live your own story. So break the chains. Drop the mask. Stop living for others. Start living for you. Lesson 18 is deeply personal, and it's called "Your Pain is Your Power, only if you stop hiding it." You've been through things. I know you have. Maybe you never told anyone. Maybe you cry in silence. Maybe people don't know how much you suffer inside your mind. Maybe you were betrayed. Maybe you failed. Maybe they laughed at you, rejected you, ignored you. And now you walk around with this heavy heart, pretending everything is okay. But it's not okay. You know it, I know it, and it's time to stop pretending. For a long time, I was ashamed of my pain. I was ashamed that I had wasted years. I was ashamed that I had failed so many times. I was ashamed that I had let people hurt me. I was ashamed that I wasn't as successful as I wanted to be. I was ashamed that I had struggled so much. And I carried that shame everywhere I went. It made me smaller. It made me quieter. It made me believe that I was less than. It made me hide. I wore masks. I pretended to be happy. I pretended to be fine. But inside, I was broken. But then something changed. I realized that my pain was not my weakness. My pain was my strength. The things that hurt me, the things that broke me, the things that made me suffer, those things taught me something. They taught me about resilience. They taught me about survival. They taught me about human nature. They taught me about compassion. They taught me about courage. My pain made me stronger. My pain made me wiser. My pain made me powerful. Most people run from their pain. They avoid it. They hide it under fake smiles and distractions. They medicate it. They numb it. They pretend it doesn't exist. But the strongest people in the world, they use it. They take that pain and use it as fuel. They say, "You know what? That suffering made me tougher. That heartbreak taught me self-respect. That failure taught me to grow. I'm not ashamed of my pain. I'm proud of it. I survived. I'm still here. That means I'm stronger than whatever tried to break me." I took my pain and I turned it into art. I wrote about it. I spoke about it. I created content about it. I helped other people who were feeling the same pain. And through that process, my pain became my gift. I took my pain and I turned it into art. I wrote about it. I spoke about it. I created content about it. I helped other people who were feeling the same pain. And through that process, my pain became my gift. People didn't trust me because I had it all figured out. People trusted me because I had been broken and I had put myself back together. Don't be ashamed of your pain. Be proud of your survival. You're not broken. You're just being rebuilt into something powerful. Remember this: the darkest nights produce the brightest stars. Let the pain sharpen you, not silence you. Take what hurt you and turn it into something beautiful. Take what broke you and use it to help others who are broken. Take what you learned from suffering and share it with the world. Because your pain is not your weakness. Your pain is your power. Lesson 19 is something that I practice every single day, and it's called Starve Your Distractions, Feed Your Focus. Right now, there are two wolves living inside your mind. One is called distraction. The other is called focus. And the one who wins is the one you feed more. This is not a metaphor. This is real. Every single time you scroll on your phone for hours, you're feeding the distraction wolf. One is called distraction. The other is called focus. And the one who wins is the one you feed more. This is not a metaphor. This is real. Every single time you scroll on your phone for hours, you're feeding the distraction wolf. Your brain becomes lazy. Your motivation fades. You start believing lies like, I'll do it tomorrow, or it's too late now, or I don't have what it takes. These lies come from a brain that has been fed distraction for so long that it doesn't remember what focus feels like. It doesn't remember what drive feels like. It doesn't remember what ambition feels like. You fed the distraction wolf so much that it's gotten fat and lazy, and it's dragging you down with it. But here's the beautiful thing. You can change that. You can start starving the distraction wolf right now. You can start feeding the focus wolf. And the more you feed focus, the stronger it gets. The more you use your mind for important things, the easier it becomes. The more you choose to read instead of scroll, the more you want to read. The more you choose to work instead of distract, the more you want to work. Your mind adapts to what you feed it. So here's what I did. I turned my phone off. I removed social media apps. I said no to every useless invitation. I cut toxic people out of my life. I set boundaries like a warrior. I protected my time and my attention like it was precious, because it is. It is. Your attention is the most valuable resource you have. And if you give it away to distractions, you have nothing left for your dreams. I set one goal: feed my focus. Everything else was secondary. And here's what happened. My productivity exploded. My creativity exploded. My dreams started becoming reality. Because for the first time, I had focus. Real, pure, undivided focus. And here's what happened. My productivity exploded. My creativity exploded. My dreams started becoming reality. Because for the first time, I had focus. Real, pure, undivided focus. I could think deeply and come up with real solutions, and it felt incredible. It felt like I was finally using my brain the way it was meant to be used. You want success? You want to become someone your younger self can be proud of? Then starve those distractions. Turn your phone off. Cut toxic people out. Say no to every useless invitation. Set boundaries. And then sit down and feed your focus. Read. Work. Learn. Build. Fail. Try again. Because focus is not natural. It's trained like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Imagine this. If you give your full focus for just 1 year, 365 days of pure effort, your life will look nothing like it does today. That's not magic. That's not luck. That's mathematics. That's discipline. That's real. Lesson 20 is the final lesson, and it's the one that changed my entire mindset about life. It's called, Life Doesn't Owe You Anything, so fight for everything. Let me say this in the rawest, harshest way possible, because you need to hear it. The world doesn't care about your potential. It only rewards your performance. You might be a good person. You might have a big heart. You might have dreams. But if you're not working, if you're not showing up, if you're not proving your worth, life will ignore you. That's the truth. Nobody cares how smart you are if you're not using that intelligence. Nobody cares how talented you are if you're not creating anything. Nobody cares how beautiful you are if you're not confident. Nobody cares what you could do if you're not actually doing it. The world only cares about results. The world only respects action. So if you want respect, you have to earn it. If you want success, you have to create it. If you want love, you have to open your heart and risk rejection. Life doesn't hand you anything. You have to take it. You want success. Nobody's going to hand it to you. There's no fairy godmother coming. There's no genie. There's no perfect timing. It's all on you. You've got to stop crying for help and start fighting like hell. Stop waiting for someone to believe in you and start becoming someone you believe in. That hunger, that fire, that rage to rise, it has to come from inside you. Nobody is going to feel it for you. Nobody is going to do it for you. You're the only one who can create your life. Yes, life is unfair. Yes, some people are more privileged than others. Yes, you might have to suffer more than someone else. Yes, the system might be working against you. But so what? Are you just going to sit there and complain? Are you going to use your circumstances as an excuse forever? Or are you going to stand up and say, I don't care how hard it gets. I will make it happen? Because those are your two choices. You can be a victim of your circumstances, or you can be a victor. You can't be both. This life is not a gift. It's a battlefield, and you're either fighting or you're dying slowly. Every day you wake up, you have to choose which one you're going to do. Are you going to fight for your dreams? Or are you going to surrender to your circumstances? Are you going to push forward, or are you going to give up? These are the real questions, and your answer to these questions determines your entire life. So wake up every day with this mindset. Life doesn't owe me a damn thing, but I will still take everything I deserve. I'll work harder, I'll suffer more, I'll show up earlier, I'll stay later. I'll keep going when everyone quits. And one day, when they ask me, how did you do it? I'll smile and say, I stopped expecting life to be easy, and I started demanding more from myself. That's the only secret. That's the only magic. Work, effort, persistence. That's what creates success. So if you want a crown, earn it with blood, sweat, and obsession. That's the price. Pay it. Now, let me pause for a moment and speak to you from my heart. Maybe you're watching this right now and you're struggling. Maybe it's not just one thing. Maybe everything feels heavy. Your money is low, your mind is tired, your health is not okay, your relationships are falling apart, and you're just trying to survive. Maybe nobody knows how much you're hurting. Maybe you're pretending to smile outside, but crying every single night inside your heart. Maybe you feel like you failed. Maybe you feel like nothing is working. Maybe you're asking, when will things get better? When will my life change? Let me say this to you as someone who has been in that place. Everything will be okay. I'm not saying that to give you fake hope. I'm saying that because I've seen it happen. I've lived it. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel. It may be a long tunnel. It may be dark. It may feel endless. But there is light. You just can't stop walking. No matter how broken you feel, no matter how long it takes, you are not finished yet. There's more to your story, more to your future, more inside you than you've ever imagined. Your worst days are not the end. They are the beginning of a stronger, smarter, more powerful version of you. The pain you're feeling right now, it's temporary. But the strength you're building through that pain, that's permanent. That's going to carry you forward. That's going to help you help others. So don't give up. Don't surrender. Just keep walking. Just keep taking one step forward, because I promise you, it gets better. I've been where you are, and I'm now living the life I used to dream about. You can too. And here's the thing that I want you to understand. If you don't have a dream, find one. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a dream that makes you feel alive. You need a reason to wake up. You need something to fight for. Once you have that dream, protect it, chase it, build it with your bare hands. Learn every single day, grow every single day. Work hard even when nobody claps for you. Work hard even when nobody's watching. Work hard even when you don't feel like it. Be obsessed with knowledge. Be obsessed with discipline. Be obsessed with your mission. Don't waste time thinking about what's wrong with the world. Focus on what's right inside you. Focus on your own growth. Focus on your own evolution. Don't focus on everyone else's success. Focus on your own potential. Don't focus on other people's opinions. Focus on your own vision. And never forget this. You have no idea what you're capable of. You think you're weak? You're not. You think you're behind? You're just warming up. You think it's too late? It's not. You think nobody believes in you? I believe in you. You're powerful beyond your imagination. You're not just a human being. You're a storm waiting to rise. Your potential waiting to explode. Your greatness waiting to be released. And when you finally do, when you finally step into your power, the world will watch you in shock and say, "Where did this person come from?" And you'll say, "I came from the fire. I came from pain. I came from rock bottom, and I made it. I made it out. I made it up. I made it work." And I want you to know, if I can do it, you can do it too. I wasn't special. I didn't have special skills. I didn't have special circumstances. I didn't have special luck. All I had was a decision to change, a decision to grow, a decision to become someone different. And through that decision, through consistent action, through never giving up, I changed my entire life. And you can do the same. You have everything you need inside you right now to create the life you want. You just have to decide. You just have to commit. You just have to start. So now, pick up your heart, fix your posture, clean your tears, and start walking again. Because your future is waiting. Your greatness is waiting. Your dream is waiting. And it's time to go get it. It's time to stop existing and start living. It's time to stop waiting and start creating. It's time to stop being afraid and start being brave. It's time to become the person you were always meant to be. I want you to remember these lessons. I want you to write them down. I want you to read them every single day if you have to, because life is going to try to pull you back. Your old habits are going to try to come back. Your fears are going to try to take control. Your mind is going to try to convince you to give up. But if you remember these lessons, if you hold on to this truth, you'll be able to push through. You'll be able to fight back. You'll be able to keep moving forward. I want to thank you for listening to my story. I want to thank you for taking the time to hear my journey. I want to thank you for being open to change. That takes courage. That takes vulnerability. That takes strength. And I respect you for that. I believe in you. I believe that you can do it. I believe that you can create the life you want. I believe that your story is not over. Your best chapters are still ahead. And before you go, please like this video if it helped you. Please share it with someone who needs to hear this message, because your sharing might change someone's life. It might be the catalyst for someone's transformation, and that would mean the world to me. And please subscribe to this channel because I'm going to be sharing more stories, more lessons, more truths that can change your life. We bring something new and useful every single week. We don't just help you improve your English, we help you change your life. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring about your own growth. Thank you for being brave enough to want change. Now go out there and create your legacy. Go out there and become the person you were meant to be. Go out there and live, really live, not just exist, live. And remember, this is your one precious life. Don't waste it. Don't let it pass you by. Grab it, hold it tight, and make it count. I believe in you. I'm rooting for you. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay strong.